Hello folks, my name is George Myhall. This is what I call my Office of Image Archaeology, someplace I've been digitizing old film, photographs, negatives, and so on and so forth for the last 20 plus years. I just want to touch base here. I got another video that I'm about to post, and this one is kind of near and dear to my heart. It's about the air that I breathe. It's about the air that we all breathe. And what they began to realize back in the late 50s and prompted some folks to start making changes in the pollution standards throughout the world. This one right here is about Los Angeles, California, and American cities are being used as an example. Some of the innovations that they're coming up with for the folks up in Toronto, Canada. And I'll just give you, this is interesting. This is out of the film. I didn't realize this, but did you know that in, let me see, this is in the city of London, England, they suffered from a number of lethal fogs that smoke and sulfur dioxide, resulting in, this is in 1952, 4,000 deaths because of the air quality standards. And just from October 26th to the 29th of 1948. Or 1952 in Sacramento. In the United States, between the dates of October 26th and 29th, 1948, a fog enveloped Donora, Pennsylvania, and resulted in the air contamination there caused the population, 42.7% of the town population became ill and 20 died. And this is back in, back a while, but people began to realize that there was a lot of problems with our air quality, and so they began to make changes and things that was causing polluted air was causing diseases such as pneumonia, bronchitis, various forms of cancer, as well as crop contamination and our natural environment in general. So this is a really great film that was produced in 1961 by some good folks up there in Canada, and as I said, this is there's some really great city and street scenes from Toronto and Los Angeles both, as well as some other interesting footage. So you might want to take a look at that. And before we go to the film, I'm going to beg you, please subscribe and share this with others. Put a like on there if you like it. This film, I have over 30,000, 30,000 subscribers, which really isn't a lot in the scheme of things. I understand that. But also, there's well over 1,000 films that I've posted. And you'd think that this channel would do a little better than what it does. But I'm not sure if it's being shadow banned because the powers that be don't appreciate everybody, dwelling on the past. They only want you to remember the future. Well, if you don't remember the past, you have no idea where you're going, and you're bound to duplicate the mistakes of the past. So, at any rate, enjoy the film. By the way, one last thing, I did post this about 5 years ago on some older equipment. It wasn't near as good as what this version is. But it doesn't really matter because only 80-some-odd people watched it, which is really sad because it's a great film, great educational film. Anyway, Merry Christmas and have a great New Year. Watch the film.
The universe, some say, is infinite, but our portion of it at least has boundaries. 400 miles out in space, the ionosphere encircles our world. Closer home, the stratosphere encloses us from 8 to 40 miles away. But for most of us, the atmosphere of daily life, of ordinary work and play, has a much narrower perimeter. The first mile up is a lot of air, almost 200 million cubic miles of it. But by comparison with the infinity of space, it is only a thin film or envelope around the globe. So thin, in fact, that it is affected directly by events on the surface. Earthquakes and fires, eruptions and storms often soil the lower atmosphere. But they do not last for long, and the ocean of air gradually clears away their airborne debris. However, starting in the 18th century, an extraordinary series of changes called the Industrial Revolution multiplied the ability of the human race to live together in enormous numbers, to consume the products of their environment, to harness more and more power to their service, and to burn great quantities of fuels. And as they did this day after day, something happened to their envelope of air. In recent years, the city of London, England, has suffered a number of lethal fogs, accompanied by high levels of smoke and sulfur dioxide. In the worst one, from December 5th to 8th, 1952, 4,000 deaths were blamed on the air conditions. In the United States, from October 26th to the 29th, 1948, a fog enveloped Donora, Pennsylvania. As a result of accumulating air contamination, 42.7% of the town population became ill and 20 died. These and other spectacular disasters shared a similarity of conditions: stagnant air for a period of 4 or 5 days, during which the airborne waste of a large city accumulated over it. But there are certainly many other less special occasions when deaths due to air pollution have been lost in the shuffle of a huge city's activities. In the past 2 decades, industrial expansion and urbanization have been accelerating rapidly. As a result, dozens of cities have been forced to admit that they now have a habitual air pollution problem. On some days, just windows and buildings may suffer. On others, there is human discomfort as well. Also, it is becoming apparent that there is some connection between long-time exposure to polluted air and diseases such as pneumonia, bronchitis, and various forms of cancer. Furthermore, the air itself over any major city is extraordinarily complex, and often too little is known about it. However, one recent case in North America involved an international boundary, the Detroit River, so that federal government scientists from both Canada and the USA were called in to make a detailed air pollution study. The heaviest water vessel traffic in the world, as many as 28,000 passages in a single navigation season, passes through the Detroit River. But the area is a great manufacturing region as well. Dr. Maurice Katz, consultant on atmospheric pollution to the Department of National Health and Welfare in Ottawa, helped survey the Detroit-Windsor problem. He and his colleagues found an enormous variety of contaminants in the air, and pollution serious enough to have caused major episodes in the past, were it not for favorable geography and wind conditions.
We found, for example, that there were over 20 metallic elements present. Some of them, of course, would be quite toxic in high enough concentration. such as, for example, silica and alumina and varying amounts of iron and manganese, lead, small amounts of beryllium, tin, and in fact all metals that were in any way processed in that area. Some portion of these eventually found their way into the atmosphere. There was also an important organic fraction of the particulate matter that was subjected to analysis, and from these were isolated a number of polycyclic hydrocarbons, including pyrene, benzpyrene, dibenzanthocene, and so on. And of course, some of these have been proven to be carcinogenic or capable of producing lung cancer. Of these, of course, 3,4-benzpyrene was the most toxic, and it was also found to be present in the Detroit-Windsor atmosphere, as it is present in the atmosphere of most urban areas where it is associated with the soot and smoke or tarry fraction of particulate matter.
It's no easy task for any city to clean up its air, but the problem is often complicated because much of the pollution occurs outside of the municipal jurisdiction. Greater Toronto, however, has managed since 1957 to increase its average downtown visibility almost 8 times.
The Metropolitan Toronto form of government encompasses the 13 municipalities which cover 240 square miles. There is one bylaw over the entire area. We have and are able to afford in this large municipality staff of competent engineers, chemists, scientists, and other technical persons, laboratory with complex and expensive equipment to ascertain what is in the air, to find the sources of pollution, to examine the stacks and the nature and type of pollution coming from these stacks. But first and foremost is the fact that there is a bylaw which is uniform and can be firmly and fairly applied over the entire area.
Mr. Harry Bellier is a chief engineer with Metropolitan Toronto's Department of Work. The improper combustion of coal and oil is one of the main targets of his division. Besides the industrial use of fuels, Toronto's climate makes necessary considerable domestic heating. Coal is yielding to oil and gas for many purposes, but the total consumption of all fuels is increasing as the area develops. So good burning methods remain a vital concern. Houses and apartment buildings are often more serious offenders than industrial plants, particularly since they are more numerous. In Toronto, the complaints of the public are received and channeled by a modern communications center.
Air pollution control, complaint division? Yes. Yes, madam.
Sources of trouble are plotted on a map of the city, and legitimate complaints are referred immediately by two-way radio to technically expert inspectors for investigation and action. Already mobile in the appropriate district, they can be on the scene in short order anywhere in the 240 square miles of Greater Toronto. The density of smoke permitted and the length of time for which heavy emissions are allowed are both spelled out in the municipal bylaw. Exceeding these limits without a very special excuse is a sure way to get a ticket. The trouble may lie in unsatisfactory furnace or incinerator equipment. But in many cases, inspectors find, adequate equipment is being improperly used or has not been maintained to the proper degree of efficiency. Here, overcharging the incinerator in the early stages of combustion is the fault. The automatic dampers are also rusted so that they do not function, and an overhaul is indicated. Thousands of such calls in the course of a year are gradually effecting a marked improvement in the air of Toronto as far as its soiling effects are concerned. Smoke abatement also achieves a reduction in the amount of sulfur dioxide and other gases so that improved health conditions result. But this long, persistent campaign is only part of the struggle for cleaner, safer air. In rapidly increasing numbers, the internal combustion engine is also polluting the atmosphere of our city.
Automobile exhaust becoming a problem in metropolitan Toronto as they are in all other major cities. Carbon monoxide, as we all know, is a deadly killer, but there are 3 or 4 other major contaminants from car exhausts. Some of these produce cancer. Some are irritants of the eyes, nose, and throat, respiratory system. Some are smog forming. To overcome the problem of the automobile exhaust, there are several solutions open to a municipality. One is to produce better thoroughfares, more freeways so that cars are passed through quickly and not sitting idling with their engines running. Another is to produce mass and public transportation systems so the automobile isn't required. But if we are to continue to use the automobile in years to come, we must have an exhaust control system which will burn the toxic gases to safe, non-toxic substances. We're watching Los Angeles and other American cities for the development by their researchers of such devices. And when the day comes that these commercial devices are available, that will not be too soon.
Los Angeles, California, can claim with some justification to be the entertainment capital of America. Besides that, the climate is superb. Little heating is ever necessary, and even downtown, dustfall is lower than in many a Canadian small town. Its beautiful natural setting makes it a leisure capital as well, famed alike for its great beaches and superb mountain scenery. But in the past 25 years, it has also become a great metropolis as well, the largest subtropical industrialized urban area in the world. And for 15 of those years, it has been struggling to analyze and control air pollution of an unusually complex nature. One of the first steps taken was the banning of backyard incinerators and the development of a new municipal garbage service. Then industrial plants were checked. Iron foundries, steel mills, chemical plants, and a host of other industries installed a variety of devices to control their stack output. At oil refineries, the escape of sulfur dioxide was reduced to a minimum, realizing in the process mounds of valuable sulfur. At bulk handling installations in the petroleum industry, vacuum recovery apparatus was installed to suck vapors from the air while liquid gasoline is being poured. All these pollution control measures trapped an estimated 4,000 tons a day of contaminants before they could hit the outside air. And still, the smog was oppressive. Something in the air irritated the eyes, nose, and throat. Frequent damage occurred to certain textiles, and the rubber in tires suffered cracking. Now it is realized that a major cause of this smog is exhaust products from more than 3.5 million vehicles in the county. In the still air of the Los Angeles basin, these vapors react in complex ways in the presence of sunlight to produce irritating and destructive chemicals and reduce visibility drastically. After much effort and research by scientific institutes, universities, and governmental and industrial bodies, the nature of these substances is no longer such a mystery, and their control appears to be at hand. Devices fitted to the crankcase and tailpipe of a motor vehicle, which can eliminate up to 90% of its harmful emissions, are now being road tested on hundreds of units of the Los Angeles County fleet. As they go about their daily duties, the patrol cars and mobile laboratories of the Air Pollution Control Authority and other test cars on the network of freeways are bringing closer the day when these devices will be compulsory in many urban areas and when the mountain scenery will once again be visible around the city of the angels. But air pollution is no respecter of boundaries and is not confined to metropolitan areas. In the tobacco fields of southern Ontario, Canadian scientists have been at work for the past 2 years tracking down causes of the widespread leaf damage, or fleck, which can cost the growers millions of dollars a year. The climate immediately around the plants, the soil beneath them, and the processes going on inside them were all analyzed exhaustively by the team. Conventional causes of leaf damage, such as insects, fungi, and viruses, were gradually eliminated as the data mounted. Then the hypothesis was advanced that airborne substances were producing the effects, and detailed meteorological studies of the area were undertaken. By now, more details are probably known about the climate surrounding Port Burwell, Ontario, and 5 miles out into Lake Erie beyond than are available about any area of similar size in Canada. And the results seem to bear out the theory. Ozone, produced in a photochemical reaction in the air from pollution originating in cities 70 miles or more away, is damaging the tobacco leaves of Elgin County. By detailed weather forecasts, flecking conditions can now be predicted to some extent and mature leaves picked in time. But undoubtedly, long-term solutions to the problem will have to be developed. Ontario has just established a permanent air monitoring network. Mr. W.B. Drowley of the Provincial Health Department describes one of the stations in downtown Toronto.
It's basically a electric vacuum cleaner motor drawing air to a fiberglass filter paper. Normally operates for 24 hours at a time. Now, this one has been on, here, hold this please, Dave, for 24 hours. And we'll just take the top off. And if you'd like to give me that one, I can show you the contrast. The clean one is against one that's been on here for 24 hours. This is normally what the people in this area of the city breathe. Now this, of course, Dave, ties in with our sampling network, which we have across the province, some 22 stations. And it's been set out primarily as a monitoring network to determine radioactivity and air pollution levels across the province, to give us a basis on which we can help municipalities formulate their bylaws and any particular problems which would become in one specific area.
Well, all the stations are like this one then, are they?
All the stations are the same as this. They operate 1 day a week for 24 hours, not necessarily the same day each week. It can change from week to week, so that it It gives you a fairly good cross-section of what does exist in the air.
A fairly good cross-section of what does exist in the air must today include some measurement of radiation from the fallout of nuclear explosions. The amount of this unnatural radiation and its probable effects on human life are complex and controversial subjects, but certain basic facts seem to be established. Dr. Linus Pauling, Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, discusses these with Dr. Fred Nelman.
The fact is that geneticists all over the world have been essentially unanimous in saying that even small amounts of radiation cause genetic damage, and there hasn't been any difference of opinion about that. On the other hand, as you have said, the question of the production of cancer has not been clarified until recently. A year ago, Dr. Stewart, Webb, and Hewitt in England published their careful analysis of death by children in England and Wales by cancer. All cases of childhood cancer in England and Wales. They investigated the families, studied the families of these children, and they carefully selected control population of children who had not died of cancer. They tried to find what was the difference in environmental factors or genetic factors or other factors between these two populations. In general, they couldn't find any statistically significant factor. There was only one, and it was a factor with very high statistical significance. It was this: whether or not the mother of the child had had an X-ray photograph taken of the pelvic region before the child was born. Very many of the children who died of cancer had been subjected to this insult by X-radiation. In fact, the results that they obtained show that, and there's no doubt, really no doubt about this, the statistical validity is very great. The results show that the exposure of the fetus to an estimated 2 Röntgen of radiation, X-radiation, while this X-ray photograph is being taken, doubles the chance that the child will die of cancer before he has passed the 10th year of his life. Now, 2 Röntgens is a very small amount of radiation. It is of the order of magnitude of fallout radiation, the strontium-90 irradiation of the bones and bone marrow that causes leukemia and bone cancer. We now have to say that we know the answer to the threshold question. It is that there is no threshold larger than this very small amount, 2 Röntgen.
This interview with Dr. Pauling was recorded before the recent resumption of atmospheric nuclear testing, so that the effects of which he now speaks would presumably be even greater today than at the time he recorded these remarks.
We have now to say that the estimates that have been made of the number of cases of leukemia and bone cancer, my estimate was that the bone tests carried out so far have caused or will cause 150,000 people in the world to die of leukemia and bone cancer, and some hundreds of thousands of others to die of some form of cancer. These estimates now have to be accepted.
Air is the most vital substance in the world to man. He can survive 5 weeks without food, 5 days without water, but he would be lucky to last 5 minutes without air. Everyone inhales 25 to 50 pounds of air daily. Yet our so-called technical advances are contaminating the atmosphere in ever greater quantities, in ever more complex ways. Today, men could lethally pollute all the air of their world in a short space of time from one type of source alone. Homo sapiens would do well to conserve the decreasing purity of his air supply, or else the first mile up may someday be his last.